Hi, Steve Gale here. In this video, I'm going to demonstrate connecting two networks using routing and static routes. So I've got a network here, which is the 192.168.1 network. And I've got another network over here, which is the 192.168.2 network. And what I want to do is I want to connect these two networks together via a WAN link and provide static routes so that the routers can communicate with both the opposite network. So if I look at the interfaces on this router here, I can see that I've already got a connection using gigabit Ethernet between these routers. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to demonstrate it using a serial interface. So first thing I'm going to do is just check and confirm that I've got the serial interfaces installed on these routers. So these are 4321s. So I'll just go in and have a look. Yes, and I've got serial interfaces installed on this one. And this one here, yeah. No, I don't have serial interfaces installed on this one. So what I better do first of all is I need to power off this device to install the serial interfaces. But before I do that, I want to make sure I've got my config saved, because if I power down the router and I haven't got the running config stored in the startup configuration, then I'll lose my configuration. So the first thing I'll do then is I'll go to this host here, and I've got a console connection. So I'll use that console connection to configure the router. I'll save the running config to the startup config, and then what I'll do is I will I'll power down the device. I'll install the serial interfaces, and I'll bring the device back up again. So let's go and do that. So I'll go into desktop and I'll go into terminal mode and I'll hit OK and hit enter. And it wants a password, which will be Cisco, which will be my console password, and enable. And it'll ask for a password, which will be class, which is my standard passwords here. So I'm in R2, so I'll just do a show running config. I'll have a look at the running config. And you can see here I've got the gigabit Ethernet 00 interface configured. So this is 192.168.2.1, and it's up. You can tell it's up because it's got the green here. And I've got the banner, message of the day banner. I've got the console password and VTY as well, but I haven't configured for VTY. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go copy the running config. I'll do this in long to the startup config. And yes, and OK. So now I've got that configuration saved in non-volatile RAM. So what I'll do is I'll go to the physical. Oops, not of this one, sorry. Go back to the desktop. I'll go to this device. I'll go to the physical here and I'll power it down. And now that it's powered down, I can grab my serial interface and I'll populate both slots with serial ports. So I've got four serial ports to choose from, and I'll power the device up again. So I've powered the device up. So let's go back to our PC, and you can see here that it's found the boot image. It's loading the operating system, and it'll load the startup config. And we'll just confirm that by doing a show running config, just to confirm that configuration hasn't changed. We'll know straight away because of the router prompt. Press return to get started. Press return to get started, and it's asking for a password. So Cisco, that's our console password. And you can see here R2. So clearly the configuration has been stored. I'll just type enable and class. Whoops. And I'm in as so I'll just go into config mode in here. Now, router one, I just probably should confirm that I've also got this done copy run start over here, but I'm not going to worry about that so much. So the first thing I'm going to do is I've been told that I can't use an Ethernet connection between the two. So I need to use a serial connection. So what I'm going to do, first of all, is I'm just going to go here and I'm going to go and have a look. I'm going to go and hit escape and I'll go delete, and I'll just delete that that connection and hit escape again. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go make a serial connection. So I'll go to connections, and I'm going to make this one here the DTE, and this one here the DCE. And if I just mouse back over there again and look at the interfaces, I'm going to use serial 010 at both ends. So serial 0, I've got choice of serial 010, 011, 020, and 021. So I'll use serial 010. So I'm going to click on here, and I'm going to go to this one here, and I'll make serial 010 the DTE, and I'll make serial 010 on this end the DCE. And you can see here that there's a little clock here to suggest that this serial interface here is generating the clock. Okay, so the next thing I've got is I need to configure these serial interfaces. So I've got to decide what network I'm going to use, because I've got a network here, 192.168.1 network. I've got a network here, which is the 192.168.2 network. So what am I going to call this work? Oh, just something different. I might make it a 10 network. So I might make it the 10.0.0.0 network. Yep. So what I'll do is I'll make this interface 10.0.0.1, and I'll make this interface 10.0.0.2. Oops. And I'll escape out of there. Move that there, and move that there. So this will be the 10 net. I'll use a 10 network, and I'll use a subnet mask of 255.255.255.0 for this network. So a class C network with private addresses. So first of all, I'll configure this interface. So I'll go in here, and I'll go to desktop, and I'll go to terminal, hit OK, and Cisco, and enable, and class. And I might just do a copy run start, copy the running config to the startup config. I'm using the short form now, hit enter, so that I know that configuration's been saved. But I'm going to modify this configuration. So let's have a look at how we modify it. So what I need to do is I need to set the IP address of this interface. I also need to set a clock rate on this interface because it's the DTE. And I also need to go over here and set an IP address on this interface, and also make sure the interfaces aren't shut down. So that's the first thing I've got to do. So I'll just go to config terminal mode, and I'll just go to interface S010. So it's serial 010, and I'll do an IP address of 10.0.0.1, subnet mask of 255.255.255.0, and I then need to do a clock rate, and I'll just use a standard 64K. I could use a range of different speeds, but I'll just use 64K for the sake of it. And I want to do no shutdown. Now, normally when you enable an interface, it'll come up with a green light, but a serial interface is a little bit different. See, the serial interface has changed its state to up. Oh, and it has come up with a green light. That's interesting. That green light will probably disappear again. Because generally speaking, you have to bring up both interfaces. So I've got to go over to the other side. So I'll just leave this. Actually, I'll exit from config interface, and I'll stay in config mode. So this is R1. So now I want to do the same for R2. So I'll just put that over there. Oops, didn't want to do that. Make this full screen. And I'll do the same for R2, router 2. So I'll go over here, and I'll go into interface and serial 010. So, oops. Don't need that slash. I could do SE 010, which is exactly how it's written there. And I need the IP address of 10.0.0.2. 10.0.0.2 and subnet mask of 255.255.255.0. Because these two interfaces are on the same network, the 10.0.0.0 network, they both should have the same subnet mask because that's the subnet mask of the network that they're associated with. Now, because this is the DTE end, I don't need to set a clock rate, but I need to make sure the interface is not shut down. So I'll do a no shutdown. I'll make sure that that interface is not shut down. Now that's great. So now I've basically got all my interfaces configured. Now, what you'll find though, and I can check if I exit from here, what I can do, and I just want to check that I did put the correct, let's make this a bit smaller. Oops. Make this a bit smaller over here. I did do the right, 10.0.0.1 over here. Yeah, so what I should be able to do now is from this router, I should be able to ping, from this interface, I should be able to ping that interface. So I can just test that and just see if that's working. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to exit from here and I'm in R2. So I'm going to try ping 10.0.0.1. And you can see I've got connectivity between this link here. So from 10.0 R2, from 10.0.0.2, I can ping 10.0.0.1. And if I go to this router, if I go to this router, I should be able to do the same. Here, exit, and ping 10.0.0.2. One extra dot, 2. And you can see I can ping in both directions. Now, however, having done that though, this router here knows about its directly connected networks because they're connected to it. So this router knows about the 192.168.1 network. It also knows about the 10.0.0 network. So from this PC here, I can probably ping this interface. Now, this router here knows about this network and it knows about this network because they're directly connected. So from this PC here, I can probably ping 10.0.0.1. The problem is, though, that this router doesn't know of the existence of this network here because it's not directly connected. And similarly, this router here doesn't know about the existence of this network here because it's not directly connected. So what we need to do is we need a mechanism where this router can know about this network and this router can know about this network so that it can know where to forward the packets to get to this host over here. In other words, this network over here. And similarly, this router needs to know how to get to this network so that it can then forward packets which are destined for this host down the bottom here, for this PC to be able to communicate with this PC. Now, I've got different ways that I can do that, but the simplest way of doing it is by setting up static routes. So what I do is I set up a static route in this PC, in this router, and to tell it how to get to this network. And then I set up a static route in this router to tell it how to get to this network. And then when this router receives a packet which is destined for PC0, it will then forward it on to this router, and this router can then pass it down to PC0, and vice versa. So I'm going to set up those static routes now. So if I go to here, and I'll start with R1. Now, to set up a static route, I need to be in config mode. But first of all, I'll do a show IP route, and I'll have a look at the router routing table. And you can see here that it knows about this network here because it's connected, and it knows about this network here because it's connected. But it doesn't know about the remote network. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into config mode, and I'm going to put in I'm going to set up a static route. So I'm going to go IP route, and I'm going to say IP route to the 192.168.2.0 network. So how to get to the 2 network? Because I'm in R1. Oops, I'm in R1. So I'm in R1. How does it get to the 2 network? and I need to provide the subnet mask of the two network, which is 255.255.255.0. And then I need to tell it how to get there. And the way it gets there is by forwarding those packets to this router here, or forwarding it to 10.0.0.2. So I'm going to put here 10.0.0.2, which is how to get there. In other words, how this router gets to this network is forwards it onto its next hop, or its default gateway, and the default gateway, or the next hop interface, is 10.0.0.2. So that's my IP route, and that's my IP route for R1 to get to this network. So over here, I'm going to do the same thing. So here I'm going to go into config mode, and I'm going to do IP route, and I'm going to do, this time I want to get that allow this router to be able to get to the 192.168.1 network. So 192.168.1.0 network. Notice it's .0 because it's how to get to the whole network. And subnet mask of that network is 255.255.255.0. And then I provide the next hop interface for this router, which is this interface address here, or if you like, this router's default gateway, which is this one here. And I'll put here 10.0.0.1. Now, if I exit here, if I do a show IP route, I should be able to see now the static route in here. And you can see here I've got this, so we're looking at R2. It's got the 10.0.0 network, which is connected. It's got the 192.168.2 network, which is connected. And it's got a static route to the 192.168.1 network, in other words, a static route to this network via 10.0.0.1. So you can see here our static route has been configured in this router. If I was to look at the other router, I'd see the same thing. If I type exit in here and I do a show IP route, you can see here I've got a static route to the 192.168.2 network and via 10.0.0.2. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to see if I've got connectivity between these two PCs. So what I can do now is go to quit out of the terminal and go to command prompt, and I'm just going to try and do a ping test from this PC all around the network. So the first thing I would do is ping the default gateway. So I do a ping to 192.168.1.1. So I'm pinging this interface of the router here, so this PC's default gateway. And you can see here that I'm getting a ping reply. So I can get to this router. Then I'll go to the next hop and I'll see whether from this PC I can ping 10.0.0.2. So ping 10.0.0.2. And you can see here that this PC can ping and get a reply back from there. So finally now I can try and ping 192.168.2.10. Oh, 2.10? Should be 2.2, is it? And I'm not getting a reply. That's interesting. So now I've obviously got a problem. I've either got a problem with my static route. I'll try and ping 2.1. We'll see whether that works. Aha. The static route doesn't seem to be working. So let's do a bit of debugging and see what's going on here. So let's first of all make sure that this PC has its default gateway set. So let's go to config. And so we've got 2.10. Yep. And our global settings. And the default gateway is set 2.1. So that's correct. So there must be something wrong with one of our static routes. So let's have a look and see what's going on with our static routes. We'll just go and have a look at, go back to our desktop and have a look at the static route in here. So the static route to the 192.168.1 network via 10.0.0.1, and that's in R2. Yep, that looks all right. And that's for, we've got the local interface is 10.0.0.2. Yep, that's correct. So it looks good. So let's have a look at this one. Whoops. Let's have a look at this router here. So let's have a look at, let's quit out of there. And let's go to terminal mode and OK. And look at our static routes here. So we've got to get to the 192.168.2 network, we go via 10.0.0.2. That's right. So that's 10.0.0.2. And got the 192.168.1 network. Yeah, it all looks good. Interesting that it doesn't work. The ping's not working. So with a little bit of investigation, I found my problem. So if I do a show run and look at the running config of R1, I noticed that I had a typo. So in my IP route on R1, instead of 192.168.2 network, I've got 102.168.2 network. And that's why I can't communicate between this PC and this PC, because it thinks it knows how to get to the 102 network, but it doesn't know how to get to the 192.168.2 network. So to remediate this, what I need to do is I need to go into config mode, and I need to go back and I need to remove this route. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to go no. I'm going to go and paste that, but I'm going to put a no in front of it. So this removes that route. So I'm going to say no IP route 102.168.2.0, and I'm going to go back and then change that to 192.168.2.0 and get rid of the no in front. And now exit, and now do a show run. Show the running config. And you can see here, I've now got the correct IP route. So just to finally test, let's go back and do our testing. So I'll just quit out of terminal mode, and I'll go into the command prompt, and I'll start my pings again. So the first ping I'm going to do is I'm going to ping the 1.1, the default gateway. And you can see here I can ping from 1.10 to 1.1. The next ping I'm going to do is I'm going to ping 10.0.0.2, which is the next hop, ping 10.0.0.2. So you can see here I can ping here. Now the final test to see whether my routing is working is to ping 192.168.2.10. And with a bit of luck, it should work this time. First one times out, and then we get the reply. The first one always times out because it takes one ping request for the router to identify the remote network in its routing table. So you get one request timeout for every hop there is in a network. So you can see here I'm able to successfully ping from here. Now, just to confirm that I can go back the other way, which will work because a ping request also has a ping require. So the ping will test the path in this direction and also the return path. But just to wrap it up, I'll just go over to here, and I'll quit out of, go to command prompt mode, and I'll just go direct, and I'll just say from PC, this PC here, I'll ping this PC over here. So I'll just type ping 192.168.1.10, and you can see I've got connectivity between my two PCs. I hope that's been helpful. Thanks very much for watching.